Welcome to the Kissing Spine podcast. How nice of you to join. In this podcast, I discuss several topics around kissing spine, like what kissing spine is, the different medical treatments, the function of different body parts, functional and dysfunctional training techniques, saddle fit, and a whole lot more. All put together to help you support your horse with the kissing spine. I wish you a lot of fun listening, and if you like this podcast, make sure to become a subscriber so you won't miss any of my episodes. Welcome to the Kissing Spine podcast. How nice of you to join. In this podcast, I discuss several topics around kissing spine, like what kissing spine is, the different medical treatments, the function of different body parts, functional and dysfunctional training techniques, saddle fit, and a whole lot more. All put together to help you support your horse with the kissing spine. I wish you a lot of fun listening, and if you like this podcast, make sure to become a subscriber so you won't miss any of my episodes. Hi, and welcome to a new episode of the Kissing Spine podcast. In this podcast, I'm going to discuss with you the different degrees of kissing spine. But before I'm going to do that, I'm going to share a little bit about where I am now, which is Germany. I have two of my horses here, which is my kissing spine horse Pura and my yearling PRE stallion, because I brought him here as a kindergarten, so to say, to grow up to be a big, strong stallion. But when I brought him here, I brought my kissing spine horse Pura with me because I didn't feel like it was a good idea to put him on a trailer all by himself. So when I dropped him off over here, he got freaked out when I took Pura away. He needed a little bit more time to settle, and well, maybe you are in my Kissing Spine Rehab training group on Facebook, but I've shared there how hard it was for me actually to leave Pura here because she's a kissing spine horse. She's 21 years old, and she needs a fair bit of exercise to keep her healthy and strong and supple through the body. Well, she's been here for a month now, and she actually looks really great, a lot better than I expected, because by herself, she has a very unhealthy way of using her body. So I was very afraid that she was going to get worse while being here. And I'm positively surprised. Actually, she's in a field with a lot of hills. So going to the water, she needs to go down the hill, and to go to the shade, she needs to go up the hill. So going up and down the hills is a really good exercise for her. Of course, it's not as good as doing actual training. It's not going to replace any training. But she's not in such a bad shape as I would expect her to be. Of course, the warm weather helped with that as well, because a kissing spine horse and an older horse are usually dealing with cold weather not too well. But again, I'm really surprised with how she's looking, and it seems like I'm able to bring her home this evening. We tried to take her out of the herd a couple of times without him fully freaking out and respecting the wires this time. So that's a really good sign, and I'm finally going to bring my kissing spine girl at home, and I can worry about her a little less. So that's a good thing. And of course, I'm going to take you along in the process of bringing her back into the work in the next couple of weeks. And these videos I will share in the Facebook group, as well as I'm going to also share this in the Rehab to Ride course, which is available on my website, www.sdjhorsetraining.nl. So, about today's subject, the different degrees of kissing spine. And the reason why I want to talk about this subject is mainly because I've been getting quite some comments about what kissing spine is, and that kissing spine is not rehabable, and I believe this is not really true. So one of the comments that I received is, true kissing spine is degenerative bone remodeling, and there is no rehab for that. Well, unfortunately, these kind of comments or similar comments are very often made. And these are often made by people who have vaguely had some experience with kissing spine in the past. But as we all know, one horse is quite different than the other, and that goes the same with kissing spine. One case is not the same as the other. One of the things is that a lot of people don't really see successful rehabilitation from a kissing spine. And this is often because of their standards of, what a healthy horse looks like and the things that I want to be doing with a horse. And, if you get at a certain point and a certain stage, we have to be realistic that these horses are not able to do everything. They will not ever get to Grand Prix levels of jumping and dressage. But if that is not your ambition, these horses could rehab rather well and still do a fair bit of sports if that's what you want to be doing. But if this is possible, as I explained in the previous podcast, really depends on the situation of your horse. But kissing spine is, because of this, placed in a box of unhealable or untreatable, or horses are being checked in the box of unsavable, which is a pity because everyone has their own expertise and experience, but many don't really have real experience in this field when it comes to kissing spine. And in order to understand what is possible or what is not possible, you really need to take a look at how kissing spine progresses. So that's why I'm creating this podcast for you, so you have a better understanding what's going on inside the body of the horse, and when you can get into trouble and whatnot, and when you need to adjust your own expectations when it comes to your future plans with your horse. So one of the things that happens with horse owners that are surrounded by people who have little or no experience of understanding the kissing spine, they are often left with comments like, get rid of that horse, or you cannot handle this horse, or you can't help this horse, and go on with that. And often these horse owners, maybe that's you feel lost because you wonder whether your horse is really beyond saving, yes or no. So let's take a look at the different degrees of kissing spine. I'm sorry for the background noises because I'm in Germany and the walls are a little bit thinner than they are at home, so I cannot make this a full soundproof space, so you will hear the road that I'm next to. So when we take a look at the different degrees of kissing spine, I'm going to try not to make it too technical for you, so I'm not using all the Latin words for all the different stuff. But I want you to give you a general idea what's going on. So in basics, the bones are covered by the periosteum. And the periosteum is a sheath outside the bones that supplies them with blood and nerves and cells that help them grow and that help them heal. That's why it's possible, if you break a bone, that it will heal again. You can understand that this is quite an important layer. So when the dorsals of the vertebrae start to touch each other, this is not a full big force all at once. This is a slowly going process. And that first layer, the periosteum, will get damaged. And since this layer is there to help grow and heal, this layer will build and create a lot of cells to deal with this issue. And this starts with inflammation. So the area will get warm, and the body is going to try to do some repairing because that's what the periosteum does. But you can imagine that if you're trying to build a concrete wall against something that's moving, it's going to be a really difficult and frustrating job for the body. And that's what's going on when the horse is moving. When the horse is walking, these bones are moving. They're going to rub, and that's going to make the whole repairing process quite difficult. Constantly fighting inflammation costs the body a lot of energy. A horse needs to survive and cannot constantly leak energy to something that's not getting any better. So then the body, as inventive as it is, it's going to make a change and harden the issue around the bone, which is called calcification. And this usually starts with the periosteum, but also the ligaments between the vertebrae can eventually be affected by this. This is where they do leg snips when it comes to surgery. I'm going to talk about medical treatments on a different podcast. In the end, the bones are going to be fusing together, and then the body is not losing energy to fixing this problem anymore because there's nothing to fix. There's no rubbing, there's no inflammation, there's nothing, and the energy leak is gone. It's really badass actually what the bodies do to survive when you think about it. Good news for you, through the stages of inflammation and calcification and then excessive bone growth, when in the end you get fusion, there are several medical treatments that can help support your horse through every stage. But, and this is a very, very big fat but, you can see that you can do anything medical that you want, but if the horse does not learn to bring the spine up, so more space is created between the dorsals, nothing is going to change. With other words, whatever medical you're doing, you need to change the way the horse is moving, because apparently the way the horse is moving is making the spine collapse. So medical treatment is there to support the training. It's not the training that supports the medical treatment. No, it's the medical treatment that supports the training. I'm going to discuss this further in a different podcast. I'm not going to do that in this one. But even with surgery, if you would do the bone shave and the lick snips, you really need to be considering that you want to be doing this while doing training. So if you're not going to change the way you train your horse, all medical treatments that are out there are not going to help your horse. But you can also see that through all these different stages, the way your horse can recover from a kissing spine varies quite significantly. If you have bone fusion, fully rehabbing to a Grand Prix horse is going to be rather difficult, while if you only have inflammation going on and you're really in the beginning stage of the kissing spine, rehabbing is going to be quite a bit easier. You might not even need medical treatment. You can just stick with a training program that will teach the horse to use the body differently. So that's why if you hear someone say that in any case kissing spine is impossible to rehab from, that's not really true. It really depends on what the stage of kissing spine is. I hope this was helpful, and I hope this podcast gave you a little bit more clarity on what the different degrees of kissing spine are and what the future could be for your horse. So if your horse got diagnosed with a kissing spine and x-rays were made, check with your vet what kind of stage your horse is when it comes to kissing spine and how bad it is. And obviously, kissing spine can come with other complications, for example, issues in the legs, maybe some arthritis and that kind of other stuff. So when it comes to assessing your horse and where it is and how rehabable your horse is, you really need to have a full picture of what's going on in the horse, not just the spine, but the full capacity of motion, so to say. In the next podcast, I'm going to talk more about medical treatments and how they can support your rehabilitation. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through email. You can reach out to me through Facebook Messenger. You can join the Facebook group, Kissing Spine Rehabilitation Training with SDJ Horse Training. You can reach out to me on Instagram. I will try to answer all your questions as fast as possible. Of course, I also have the course How to Create a Rehab Plan for a Kissing Spine Horse, which you can find on my website, www.sdjhorsetraining.nl. I wish you a very pleasant day, and hopefully you will be there for the next podcast. I would like to thank you again for listening to this podcast. If you think that this podcast is interesting to someone else, please share it on social media so others can find it too. This way we can create more awareness about what the options are with a kissing spine horse. I would like to thank you again for listening to this podcast. If you think that this podcast is interesting to someone else, please share it on social media so others can find it too. This way we can create more awareness about what the options are with a kissing spine horse.